Recorded live at Talks and Tasting Studios, it's the Clerical Errors Podcast, the podcast that shows you what's behind the collar. Let's go.
Brought to you live from the Talks and Tasting Studio, it is the Clerical Errors Podcast, where we take a look behind the collar.
I'm Bollhagen.
I'm Berg.
I'm Bert.
I'm Vicar.
Well, let us begin. How you guys doing today?
Just as great as I was doing about 15 minutes ago.
Hey, thanks for taking the initiative on this, Bert.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I was just thinking I have to leave by 11:30, and it's about 11:02 right now, so we're on the countdown clock, folks. We're getting down to the last few minutes of my scintillating ability to do anything.
So then we just have a short time to hear about what's going on in your world.
What's going on in Bert's world? Party on.
Because I think the listeners want to know what's
So, Bert's world. All right. So, what's going on in Bert's world? Well, last time, if you remember, I planted something like 150 trees and built hundreds of houses and
I remember that because
miles
I remember
and
that
miles.
because I was so impressed that you had planted 150 trees without. Because you said, "Well, what'd you do before you came in?" Well, I planted 150 trees.
Right.
And I was shocked.
They're all about a centimeter tall.
And then I learned, yes.
And they're made of like foam and stuff like that, and a needle for the trunk. You know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. What's really going on right now in Bert's world? Two things. First of all, I'm learning how to cut out hexagons, little hexagons, and hexagons have 6 sides. That's my favorite shape. I don't know why. It should be an octagon, right? You know, because it's
Right.
baptismal font. But you know,
A better choice than a pentagram.
better choice than pentagram. Exactly there. You know, why is it that we don't like pentagrams? I don't know. But see, that's the other thing, actually. The frame that my son and I came up with for the hot air balloons, the 20 hot air balloons that he needs to launch in order to do some science experiment, the frame that we came up with is actually pentagonal. So, you know, if we lose one of these things, some farmer in his field's going to pick up a pentagram and say, what in the world? Some Satanists launch hot air balloons?
Yeah.
That's crazy. But that's not...
Just don't have any animal remains close. You'll
Right.
be okay.
Right. Exactly. Oh, dear. But that's basically what we're doing. I'm helping my son with his science fair project, and I haven't had any time to do anything else lately. So
You've been teaching Latin, though, right?
I have been teaching Latin. That's correct. And basically, I have a homeschool family that's not my family, but they have a daughter who's been through first and second form Latin, and this summer they approached me saying, help us, because I don't know if we can learn it as fast as she needs to learn it. And so I said, well, I'll do what I can. And basically, this has turned into like a huge project, too. So I spend about 2 hours a week studying so that I can spend about an hour teaching. So that's a good thing. Good ratio of teaching to studying, and it's great. They are actually paying me for this, which is something that's wonderful. In a couple of months, maybe about 6 months, I'll have enough to buy a liquid resin 3D printer.
Nice.
That's the goal. So.
Oh, man,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
It's going to be rad.
Yeah. Now, theologically speaking, how do we bring all of this together into one thing, without just saying, well, this is creation, right? You know, God creates these things for us to enjoy, and He creates these things for us to help one another and live together in this world that He's created, and so that's a good thing.
So
Yeah.
Explain these balloons to me a little bit more.
Right. So it's basically a trash bag with 5 straws. The frame is 5 straws stuck together that are bendy straws, so that they can bend and make that angle for the pentagon, and then there's a wick in the middle that's suspended by a wire and wood contraption. It's got to be wire because the wire won't burn, and it's got to be wood because if the wire attached directly to the straw, the wire would heat enough to melt the straw. So you have to have some insulation there. And then we're testing the fuels to see which fuel is best for fueling this contraption of the hot air balloon, whether it's gasoline, whether it's lighter fluid, whether it's nail polish remover, acetane, or...
some words of wording.
Yes.
Like, while you're working on that, if your son ever says, hey, Dad, can you sit in this lawn chair for a minute?
Right, exactly.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Because he'll send me up. Yeah.
You'll be the science experiment.
It was kind of interesting because it took us a long time to dial it in just right so that the bag would actually lift in the garage. But we've got it so that it goes. We did one of these launches where the bag must have been caught by some kind of a column of rising air because it went so far that we lost sight of it. It just went away. It was just gone. And I was surprised, actually. I thought, well, it's going to go up about 100 feet or so, and it's going to come down, but it must have been caught by rising air. So,
listener, if you find
if you find a black trash bag with a pentagon of straws on it, no, it's not Satanists trying to attack you.
Yes, no satanic panic this time, guys.
No, not at all. Right, exactly. This satanic panic from Dungeons and Dragons, right? Is that?
Yep.
Yeah.
1980s.
Yeah. So that's what we're doing. And I think one thing that we can take out of this is that we live in a world that God has made, and it has, there are laws, physical laws that are, in this world, and that God, he rules over all things, and that means he rules over this wonderful reaction that happens when air heats, it becomes less buoyant, and pressure and temperature and all that's related, and that's why we can launch hot air balloons,
Can you imagine what it would be like if there wasn't any laws? Like, it
man.
was all just arbitrary?
Yeah, that would be crazy.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like you eat a piece of cheese and you explode.
it looks like
right.
I mean,
Well, that happens to me all the time. But yeah.
it looked like the Capitol building.
Looney Tunes.
Right, with the Looney Tunes.
Don't look down. Gravity doesn't work.
Don't look down. Gravity doesn't work.
That's how it works in the cartoons. As long as you don't look down, you
Right.
won't fall.
Right, that's right.
Or the plane crash where it like stops like inches before the ground because it ran out of gas.
Oh,
Right.
yeah. Yeah. So, I thank God that we live in a universe that is created that way, that we have these natural laws. Now, of course, this is one of those things that people always ask about natural law in the universe. God set it up that way, but what does that mean about God's relation to it? Is he able to circumvent the natural laws of the universe, or does he just know more than we do about the natural laws of the universe, and that's how miracles are possible? I don't know. You know what? I'm just not capable of answering that question. So God's word hasn't told us.
Yeah.
It's just that we do know that in him all things hold together.
I think it's kind of like Space Jam, where, Michael Jordan plays by the rules until he doesn't.
Until he doesn't.
And then they win the game,
Right.
Because he stretches his arm.
Right. Sounds good to me.
And what's the first thing you're going to make for Bertlandia with your new printer, your resin 3D printer?
Probably some buildings.
Now,
buildings that look nice.
Has everything been peaceful in Bertlandia lately? Is it?
There has been a battle. There was one battle that took place, and also, there's been a space battle that happened as well. My son and I came up with a space war game. We just like doing this. We don't like play by anybody.
You don't
else's rules.
actually play space war games.
Well, we do. We do.
Okay.
But we don't like play by somebody else's rules that they wrote. We actually write up our own, or actually just it's me saying, no, this is what would happen, and or this is the turn, how the turns work and everything. And he beat me, so I made it up in my head, and he beat me.
So he might be interested in joining the Space Force at some point.
Yeah. He actually asked about that once. He said, "Dad, could I be the first astronaut to preach in space?" And I thought, yeah, sure, you could do that. That's fine. You could go to Mars and be the first, missionary to the Martians.
We have the first district president of the Red Planet District.
The Red Planet District. Right.
Well, there are some calls coming out of the seminary that are pretty darn close to that.
Yep.
What is this? Tell me. I'm curious. Is there?
I don't know. They're just some.
They're like
out in the middle of nowhere.
out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Sumner, Iowa. One of you who's listening to this may get a call to St. Paul's and St. John's Lutheran churches in Sumner, Iowa. And if you do, you'll be in my circuit, which would be great. Besides that, it'll be great because the people there are great and they're doing what they do. Yeah.
So before we leave, we better get to the text. Vicar, what are we preaching on, Vicar?
We're now on Sexagesima, so we're now 60 days until Easter, and the reading is Luke 8, verses 4 to 15. So this is the very well-famous parable of the sower.
All right. So can you give us a little summary? And this is one of the beautiful parables where we learn how to interpret.
Yeah.
Interpretate.
Jesus,
Is that a word, Vicar? Interpretate?
it is now.
Interpret?
Yeah, it got added to the new dictionary.
That's
Yeah.
part of my strategery.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good, simple little parable that Jesus tells about a sower who goes out and scatters seed on different locations, different soil, and the plants grow up, and depending on where they are, determines how well they last. And then the disciples ask him what this means, and he explains how this is teaching about faith.
Well, Berg, you grew up in a farming community. What do farmers think of this?
Yeah, I mean,
Is that a waste of grain?
Yeah, I mean, well, and their way of planting is a lot different than ours. I mean, you've got it down now with these GPS machines. You don't even drive anymore. You know, you turn at the ends because you don't want to plant more seed than what you can. And so, but yeah, I mean, even for farmers of this time period, why would you spread seed on a road? Why would you spread seed among thorns? It's silly. It's dumb. It's not what you do.
Especially the price of seed is ridiculous. A bag of seed is like a couple $100.
Yeah, more than that almost, I think. Yeah.
Well, and you're talking about back then. You're talking about your own seed,
Right.
and this is like how you're going to live. So you don't want to like waste it either. So it's not an image that really, because everybody thinks, the parables, they conform to life so well, and they really just, it's just such a great image to teach. It's like, no, actually, oftentimes these parables don't really make a whole bunch of sense. They're striking because they don't make as much sense as we would.
And
maybe
they
like
show
them.
how ridiculous grace is.
Right?
Yeah, how it. In some ways, you could see, well, the God who created all this also then devised this too. There's some similarities, especially when he uses nature, but especially when it comes to even human involvement with others, like the dishonest manager, or
Right.
or the one we talked about last time, where everyone gets paid the same. Who does that? That's ridiculous.
Right.
Well, God's grace does that. That's ridiculous.
Or even the prodigal son. We talked about it last time. We were Pastor Price and I were in the bar, and we got talking to this couple, and the man said, he hated the parable of the prodigal son.
Hated it.
Because he's like, well, this shouldn't be the way it is. He should have to work his way back up.
Yeah.
And it's like, you missed the entire point.
Yeah. Or
You are
you're
the older
closer.
brother.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So, Bert, you mentioned earlier you love this one. What is it that you like about this text?
This text right here in front of us, yeah. You got me thinking about the prodigal son now, which is another one I love. But this one right here, what I love about this is like something you guys have been talking about a little bit here, how gracious God is with his word. He's not, he's, if you are the rocky soil, if you are the path, if you are the thorny soil, he's not going to take his word away until it's time, and it's a comforting thing because God promises he's just gonna keep his word going at you, oftentimes as experience shows, oftentimes a word from God will stick with somebody for days, weeks, months, even years, and finally, it'd be like, I just can't run away from that word anymore, and that's what happens. Somebody, finally, at last repents and believes the gospel. I mean, that does happen, and that's a gracious thing from God there that goes on. Now, it also shows us in this parable What's not talked about? What is that word that bears fruit? That is, 50, 60, or 100-fold. I think that's the way it goes at the end. What is that word of God that bears this fruit? It's the gospel. It's the good news of Jesus Christ, our Savior, that He died for our sins and rose again from the dead for us. And that's not explicit in the parable, but I think it's there too. So, yeah.
I find this parable as a pastor behind the collar very comforting in this way. When you look at this text, it's easy to get discouraged about all the seed that withers away and dies, or gets trampled, or gets choked out by the thorns and the cares and concerns of this world.
Right.
And to make that, to be burdened by that. But if you look at the actual, what happens is the sower still brings in a beautiful harvest. Mm-hmm. And the word still does its job. And I find that encouraging, because behind the collar moment, is it easy for pastors to get discouraged about this parable in particular sometimes? We all know, we can attach names and faces in our minds with each of those things. So on the one hand, that can be very discouraging. But yet the sower continues to sow, doesn't he?
Right.
And he continues to bring in a harvest.
Whether they hear or refuse to hear. Right?
And the sower doesn't plant seed to lose. He doesn't plant seed to lose more than he had. And I think as pastors, it's really good for us to remember that aspect of it, even though we have all sorts of reasons all the time for heartache, to be sad about it, to be discouraged. Right. What does God do? He produces a harvest.
Right. That's good. Yeah. Excellent. How about you, Berg? What do you think of this?
I was thinking how I was never allowed to drive the combine. Yeah, when I was back in Minnesota, that was always my dad and grandpa's job, right? And I know it's on the other side of the harvest, but but it's great because the sower is never actually we never find out who the sower actually is in this parable, right? It never actually says who the sower is. I think we make a lot of assumptions, but the great thing is that the sower here can be anybody, any Christian.
Right.
And what really matters is the Word of God, the gospel, and that this is something that anybody can, this is really true evangelism, right? This is what we do in our daily lives. We go out and we speak the gospel.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter because we don't actually know good soil or bad soil. We do what we do, and God brings forth a harvest.
Yeah, and this is, I think, also aimed at how we approach the hearing of God's word to lead us to repentance, right, as well, and especially in Jesus' explanation of it, because sometimes God's word comes at us and it goes in one ear and like the other, and we're like that seed planted on the path. The devil comes and just snatches it away. And sometimes we're like that seed planted on the rocky ground, where we receive it with joy, but we don't dig into it. It's no root.
And also in the whole process, there's trust.
Right.
There's trust that God will cause that seed to grow. There's trust that after he sows a seed, the sower just kind of.
And the growth comes from God. The sower just kind of sits back and says, "All right, I gave him the word."
Yeah. After you talked to that guy, right? Then you went and
I don't know what happened.
To bed.
Yeah, I went to bed and exactly. You're talking about from last episode, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's so long ago, I can't remember exactly what I said.
Exactly. Well, and that's the way it should be. I mean, you don't have to, because I think, unfortunately, a lot of people think you have to have some sort of script.
No.
Or you have to have some sort of plan, or you have to, have gone to seminary or some kind of nonsense like that, and just speak the word.
Yep.
And it'll do what it does.
That's right.
You don't need to know how to drive the planter or work the GPS.
Yeah. I think that's fair. That's good. I like that. I'm going to use that.
All right. So what shall we do next?
Well, I think Vicar has a top 12 list.
Yeah.
Vicar, not Vicar. No. You caught me. Peter, play the intro.
Enough nonsense. It's time for Bollhagen's Top 12.
All right, what is this list that you have?
I'll admit first. I'm really glad I don't have controls over the producing of this.
Yeah. How would you do this?
I don't know.
You're like, that's annoying.
Yeah. So
Well, you
is that
can't.
what it
You
is?
don't have the hat.
that's true. I don't. That is true. That would make the difference. So
It would be a different podcast.
it would be very different.
Yep, that's okay. It's okay.
Right. So this list is in part thanks to the confirmation class I'm teaching right now. We're going through the Old Testament, and a lot of people seem to think the Bible's about, just teaching us how to love our neighbor as ourselves and all that. And it kind of misses all of the action hero type moments, especially in the Old Testament. There's a lot of moments that are worthy of an action movie.
No, are these characters? Are they natty?
Maybe. Samson's on the list a couple times because he really deserves it.
A moment of honesty. I think Vicar was thoroughly confused about our bench press pearls.
I feel no shame admitting that I was sitting there wondering, it's like, what is this? Where are we trying to go with this? And I was about probably a good 2 minutes behind everybody else.
Muscle burn.
The Muscle Barn. What was the other thing you said it was? It was Muscle Barn and
I used Freak Factory.
Freak Factory.
Yeah.
Yes, that was the other one. That got me tickled. That got me tickled on the inside. What am I saying? Okay.
So this actually goes with what Pastor Bollhagen did last time, right? Kind of,
a little.
He talked a little bit about the action stars from the 1980s. So these are like the action stars from the 1450s to 1000 BC. Right?
BC.
Yeah, pretty much.
So maybe as you go through these,
gotta go.
Bert's got to go.
Yeah. I got
Okay.
other things I got to do today, but sorry about that, everybody.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
We'll miss you.
Yep, we'll miss you guys too. Maybe next time I can.
Hey,
say
can
the
you
whole
just
time.
say a couple of Peter play the intros?
Yeah,
in case
sure.
We need them
sure.
for the rest
Let's
of the
try that.
episode.
Okay, let's try one. All right, ready? Peter, play the intro. Here's another one. Peter, play the intro. Or how about this one? Peter, play the intro.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Yep. Thanks, Bert. All right, so let's get to this list.
So maybe what Berg and I can do as a side to this is maybe we can try and come up with what actors would play this.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Challenge accepted.
Are you catching what I'm throwing down?
I am.
I mean,
So
they'll make it, since Samson's on here a couple times, it makes it a little easier.
Okay.
So there's not going to have to be 12, but
well, there can be what do you call it, where they replace the actor
oh,
like halfway through it.
I actually thought
know?
about that when I had
Like Batman, you got Michael Keaton and Val Kilmer, and
wait, there's multiple Batmans?
there are.
when I had my beard.
Are you sure?
I think there are.
Okay.
When I had the beard.
George Clooney, your favorite?
No.
I think he's your favorite.
I'm breaking
Which
out.
Batman suit had the nipples?
That was George Clooney. I'm breaking out in hives already, please.
That one also had Arnold in it as Mr. Freeze. Oh boy.
In terms of the spirit of what a comic book movie should be, that was it. In terms of the execution, I don't know.
Well, wasn't oh my gosh, what's her name? Uma Thurman. Wasn't she Poison Ivy in that?
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the
Number 12.
assisted swan dive off of a balcony. So this is in 2 Kings 9. So when Jehu orders the execution of the evil queen Jezebel. So when Jehu came to Jezreel, Jezebel heard of it, and she painted her eyes and adorned her head and looked out of the window. And as Jehu entered the gate, she said, "Is it peace, you Zimri, murderer of your master?" And he lifted up his face to the window and said, "Who is on my side?" Who? 2 or 3 eunuchs looked out at him. He said, "Throw her down." So they threw her down, and some of her blood splattered on the walls and on the horses, and they trampled on her.
Okay, I have one.
All right.
What's her name? Charlize Theron.
For Jezebel?
Yeah.
I was thinking Elvira. Remember that?
So on one we've got maybe the skill, and the other we have the demeanor.
Well, because I was thinking her because she's got kind of this beauty to her, but she has also played some real tough characters over the years, like in Monster and in I watched one the other day that was really kind of violent. So no, that's where because let's face it, Jezebel is a dragon lady. I mean, anyone who can kill all the prophets of the Lord and get away with it for that long, and is willing to call Jehu Zimri murderer, basically saying calling him a rebel, when he's right there with his soldiers.
Note to Peter, the title of this episode is Jezebel was a dragon lady. What about Jehu?
Oh.
Michael Fassbender.
Okay, why?
Because later on, he's just his driving is described as crazy.
That's true. Yeah.
And
yeah.
I remember seeing an episode of Top Gear
when
Fassbender was on, and his driving
What
is
about one of them
worthy
Fast
of crazy.
and Furious ones?
Ooh.
Like,
Vin Diesel?
Vin Diesel.
That might work.
I could see that. I mean, he's a military guy, The Rock is in there, too.
Mm-hmm.
But we might want to keep him
for someone else,
for some others, so...
All right.
Yeah, speaking of number 11.
Number 11.
So title I've got, Nice City Gate. It'd be a shame if someone would take it. So here we are at Samson when he, well-known, he just literally steals a city gate. So this is Judges 16. So Samson went to Gaza. There he saw a prostitute and went into her. The Gazites were told Samson has come here, and they surrounded the place and set an ambush for him all night at the gate of the city. They kept quiet all night, saying, "Let us wait till the morning, then we will kill him." But Samson lay till midnight, and at midnight he arose and took hold of the doors of the gate of the city and the two posts, and pulled them up, bar and all, and put them on his shoulders, and carried them to the top of the hill that is in front of Hebron.
All right. So, Berg, do you have the rock for that one? Or, to me, this...
I think that would be, like, the obvious choice.
I think the Conan, the Barbarian Arnold.
Yeah.
Certainly.
I have one that's maybe a little off the wall here.
Okay.
Tobey Maguire. Because, like, I've always thought, like, everybody thinks that, Samson is, like, this big, swole, whatever, right? And we know that his strength comes from the Spirit of God. So I just, like, I imagine, like, the Diary of a Wimpy Kid with long hair where he, the Spirit rushes on him and he's just like, So like the Hulk, but without the transformation physically. Right. So like, Banner going around like,
How about Garth? If that's the case, he's got the long hair. Garth from Wayne's World.
Yes. So who would be the prostitute then?
Well, you'd have to go with...
Who's his girlfriend in that one? You could do... In the second one, doesn't he get a girlfriend?
Oh.
Garth?
Is that Heather Locklear? Well, I was thinking Julia Roberts could...
Yeah. A little bit of typecasting there.
Yeah.
So, if you don't know who... yes. Hannah, please put these pictures up on Facebook. So...
Man, there's going to be a lot of really good pop cultural jokes in this, isn't there? As there should be.
Number 10.
Phineas makes a point. So we're going a little further back now. This is in the book of Numbers. This is when there was a plague in the camp of the Israelites. And the grandson of Aaron kind of goes a little beyond what I would have expected as his vocation. So Numbers 25, and behold, one of the people of Israel came and brought a Midianite woman to his family, in the sight of Moses and in the sight of the whole congregation of the people of Israel, while they were weeping in the entrance of the tent of meeting. When Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, son of Aaron the priest, saw it, he rose and left the congregation, and took a spear in his hand, and went after the man of Israel into the chamber, and pierced both of them, the man of Israel and the woman, through her belly. Thus the plague on the people of Israel was stopped.
All right, so do you have a pick for this one?
Okay, I'm going to go with the Israelite man is Adam Sandler.
Okay.
Hey,
Yeah,
both Jewish.
that is true.
Are you then going to have to pick Drew Barrymore as
As
the
the
Midianite woman? Since they are in movies pretty frequently.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that, Drew Barrymore.
Okay. Like wedding singer Adam Sandler, or like later Adam Sandler, like middle-aged Adam Sandler?
Well, see, the younger Adam Sandler is the kind who would get mixed up in that kind of thing, see.
Okay. Fair point.
And then probably for Phineas, I'm going to go with Russell Crowe.
Okay.
Because he, like in some of his movies, he's really good at rage, like all of a sudden getting angry. And
I don't know. I read this and I see him just being way too calm at it.
Well,
Like, he
have you
just
seen the
looks so
trailer for
detached.
the what is the movie?
Unhinged?
Unhinged.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's crazy in that one. I was thinking for Phineas, Thomas Paine from Prodigal.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
You know, he looks like the kind of guy who would stab somebody.
sure.
Yeah. And he's already in that picture. He's already got the beard for it.
Right.
To be soon to be priest.
Indeed.
So yeah.
Number 9.
Outfoxing them with fire. And we're back to Samson. And this is, well, like the title kind of says, he used foxes to cause him arson. So Judges 15. And Samson said to them, "This time I shall be innocent in regard to the Philistines when I do them harm." So Samson went and caught 300 foxes and took torches. And he turned them tail to tail and put a torch between each pair of tails. And when he had set fire to the torches, he let the foxes go in the standing grain of the Philistines and set fire to the stacks of grain and the standing grain, as well as the olive orchards.
Okay, instead of a person, I'm going to go with a place for this.
All right.
Kansas. Because of all the wheat.
That's fair.
Oh, I thought you were going to say there's a lot of foxes.
I actually saw a fox for, it's been many years since I've seen a fox. I saw a fox up in Minnesota, kind of bounding along, and it slid into the cornfield. So it was probably like 3-4 months ago. It was awesome.
There would certainly need to be a montage of him trapping all of these foxes
Yeah.
in just increasingly goofy ways.
Well, this might be better as a cartoon. This one,
That's true.
because you have all these foxes. Like it's kind of like 101 Dalmatians Part 2, where
Right.
Oh, like he catches another one, he just has this huge bin, and he just tosses
Right.
another one in.
So that's the thing. It's like, so I'm still wondering, like, he had to have help, right? Because when you have 300 foxes, like, did he have them all together? Did he, like, was this like a couple day thing? You know?
yeah.
Like,
Did he do like the traditional fox hunting with the dogs and prancing around?
You've been watching too much Downton Abbey.
Yes. We have a visitor coming. We need to prepare for the next year and a half. As an ADHD person, how do you think that show would go with me?
I think you'd be bouncing off the walls after about 5.5 minutes.
Number 8.
Allow me to sneak into your city and conquer it. So this is David's conquest of Jerusalem in 2 Samuel 5. So the king and his men marched to Jerusalem to attack the Jebusites who lived there. The Jebusites said to David, "You will not get in here. Even the blind and the lame can ward you off." They thought, "David cannot get in here." Nevertheless, David captured the fortress of Zion, which is the city of David. On that day, David had said, "Anyone who conquers the Jebusites will have to use the water shaft to reach those lame and blind, who are David's enemies. This is why they say, the blind and the lame will not enter the place."
All right, for me,
Okay.
when I don't have the name, the actor who plays Thor.
Oh, Chris Helmsworth?
I think
Or
he'd be a good
Hemsworth.
David.
Yeah, he would. I was thinking a young Lou Diamond Phillips.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't know, he seems like this is really just a cunning move.
He can pull off the charisma for it.
Yeah, I mean, the charisma and just the cunning. I've always thought that he's like a cunning actor, so
One I can't see is Tom Cruise.
No.
Nope. I don't,
In any of these.
No, but unless you really want to go for the ironic for Samson. Although considering what I have later on, I wonder if possibly Daniel Day-Lewis for David.
Oh yeah,
Particularly,
he's a great actor.
Particularly, Last of Mohicans version.
Okay, it's been a long time since
So-
I've seen that movie.
Number 7.
The Macho Man brings down the house. So this is Samson's last and greatest act in Judges 16. Then Samson called to the Lord and said, O Lord God, please remember me, and please strengthen me only this once. O God, that I may be avenged on the Philistines for my 2 eyes. And Samson grasped the 2 middle pillars on which the house rested, and he leaned his weight against them, his right hand on one and his left hand on the other. And Samson said, Let me die with the Philistines. Then he bowed with all his will, and the house fell upon the lords and upon all the people who were in it. So the dead whom he killed at his death were more than those whom he had killed during his life.
Okay, I have a special spot in my heart for this one because this always makes me think of the Hanna-Barbera Greatest Adventures of the Bible. Did you ever watch those?
No.
They were cartoons, and it's great. Hannah, please put, there's a YouTube video for Samson, and it's got this scene, and that's every time I hear or read about the destruction of the temple, I think back to that cartoon, which was really, I think it was pretty cool. So, still, even how many years later? So,
So, do you have an actor? It's a third Sam.
Yeah, maybe The Rock for this one.
Sure.
Just because of his work in Hercules, which was a terrible movie, but I think with his acting experience now, he could pull it off. So,
How about who was the? There's an actor. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I'm not going to come up with it. Is there a Sorbo?
like Kevin Sorbo,
I mean, he played Hercules on the TV series.
he did. So he would be good.
Yeah.
A younger version, because
he'd probably be the go-to person if someone actually wanted to make a Christian movie on Samson.
Yeah, they've made one already, and I don't know. I watched like the first,
It wouldn't be
4
a
minutes of it.
G-rated movie.
No,
No, but
none of these little stories here fit
Right.
in a G-rated movie.
like the great thing is, honestly, like any of the major things like Stars or HBO, like they could just do, like just pull it from the Bible, and don't, you know what I mean? Don't change anything,
Right.
and you would have kind of the same response like you had to Game of Thrones and all this kind of stuff, because like. Yeah.
Yeah, do a biopic on David, and you're already having censorship issues.
Right. It's 100 foreskins of Philistines as a bridal price. It's right.
Right. The other actor I was thinking for this was Louis Anderson,
Yeah.
leaning on the pillars. I think these are gonna fall down now. Hey, what's going on? They're not falling.
Oh boy.
Number 6.
Little math here. 300 torches plus 1 dark night equals a lot of dead Midianites. So this is our classic story of Gideon.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'll admit, I do like the VeggieTale version. Just because it's pretty decently goofy.
Okay.
But yeah, so Judges 7. So Gideon and the 100 men who were with him came to the outskirts of the camp at the beginning of the middle watch, when they had just set the watch. And they blew the trumpets and smashed the jars that were in their hands. Then the 3 companies blew the trumpets and broke the jars. They held in their hands the torches, and in their right hand the trumpets to blow. And they cried out, A sword for the Lord and for Gideon. Every man stood in his place around the camp, and all the army ran. They cried out and fled. When they blew the 300 trumpets, the Lord set every man's sword against his comrade and against all the army.
All right. You got somebody?
Not yet. Who do you have?
Andrew Garfield.
Okay.
Ah,
So he,
Oh, is that one of the Spider-Man?
Spider-Man.
yeah, he was one of the because I don't know. I think the way in which he kind of holds himself, it would work well for Gideon, because I think he's got. Well, wasn't he also in Silence as one of the priests?
That sounds correct.
I want to say. Let's see. He was in The Amazing Spider-Man. He was in Hacksaw Ridge as Desmond Doss. Yeah, he was also in Silence. So he would I think he's got the chops to play kind of this internal struggle that Gideon has. But he's also, I think, young enough because I don't know. We don't really know how old Gideon was, but I mean, he looks fairly young, so I think it would, play well.
Yeah, that's a good one. Do you have someone in mind, Vicar?
No, actually, I like that.
I would go with Louis Anderson again. Or Adam Sandler.
He should just play all the characters.
Mel Brooks. That's.
Yeah, if Mel Brooks was directing this, we'd be doomed.
Oh my gosh.
Number 5.
So, sneaking the spies out of the city. This would be the story of Rahab. And she said to the men, I know that the Lord has given you the land, and that the fear of you is upon us, and that all the inhabitants of the land melt away before you. For we have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea before you when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to the 2 kings of the Amorites who were beyond the Jordan, to Sihon and Og, whom you devoted to destruction. And as soon as we heard it, our hearts melted, and there was no spirit left in any man because of you, for the Lord your God, he is God in the heavens above and on the earth beneath. Now then, please swear to me by the Lord that, as I have dealt kindly with you, you also will deal kindly with my father's house, and give me a sure sign that you will save alive my father and mother, my brothers and sisters, and all who belong to them, and deliver our lives from death. And the men said to her, Our lives for yours, even to death. If you do not tell this business of ours, then when the Lord gives us the land, we will deal kindly and faithfully with you. Then she let them down by a rope through the window, for her house was built into the city wall, so that she lived in the wall.
All right. Well, I've got someone here, and it's going to pose. There's been a huge blind spot in our actors and actresses.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with Queen Latifah.
Okay. Yeah. She's kind of
Tough.
got some.
She's got a toughness about her, right?
Right. She's kind of sassy.
What's so funny, Vicar?
I'm just picturing it now and hearing this now in her voice. It's like that strangely works.
Yeah. So I'll go with
I wasn't expecting it.
Queen Latifah because she's
yeah.
She got some street smarts to her, she's got a very tough. Can be very tough and at the same time very kind.
Right. Nope. Yeah, I see it. I was thinking a young Catherine Zeta-Jones because she is
with lasers.
Yes. So because
she did mark her house with a scarlet thread, so I mean red laser, scarlet, sure.
Yeah, there you go.
Because like we forget that Rahab was a prostitute, so she's kind of seductive, sultry, so yeah.
I even know what movie the red lasers were from.
Isn't that Entrapment, or is it? I don't remember now.
Moving on.
Yeah, moving on. Number 4.
Yeah.
Number 4.
So, sneaking weapons past the security. And this is probably my favorite story from Judges. This is Ehud.
Mm-hmm.
And Ehud made for himself a sword with 2 edges, a cubit in length, and he bound it on his right thigh under his clothes. And he presented the tribute to Eglon, king of Moab. Now, Eglon was a very fat man. And when Ehud had finished presenting the tribute, he sent away the people who carried the tribute. But he himself turned back at the idols near Gilgal and said, I have a secret message for you, O king. And he commanded silence. And all his attendants went out from his presence. And Ehud came to him as he was sitting alone in his cool roof chamber. And Ehud said, I have a message from God for you. And he arose from his seat. And Ehud reached with his left hand, took the sword from his right thigh, and thrust it into his belly.
Okay, so for Eglon, obviously Mike Myers.
You think so?
Well, like the fat suit and
right. Oh yeah.
Or whoever that actor was for Dune. Do you remember that?
How about Andre the Giant?
For Ehud or for Eglon?
Eglon.
Okay. He's not really fat enough though.
That's true. For Ehud, I think Daniel Craig, like a James Bondy Sly type of a thing.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
Who is the strong man who was in Game of Thrones? We haven't used him yet.
Oh yeah. I think he changed. Like they changed that actor a lot. Okay, for Eglon, this is Kenneth McMillan. Okay, he was in the 1984 Dune.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
There you go.
super fat, super awful. So
Yeah.
as for Ehud, yeah, I think I agree with you.
Daniel Craig.
Yeah,
Because he's got that, being James Bond, he's got that sneakiness, like hiding something.
right.
Either that or Bruce Willis is the other.
Yeah, Bruce Willis would be good. What about that Statham?
Oh, Jason Statham?
Yeah.
I've got a message.
I've got a message from God for you.
Yeah, I can see that.
No, Keanu Reeves would be great.
Oh.
Because he wouldn't really say a lot. He's just kind of.
How did we make it to number 4 on the list and forget about him?
I don't know how we forgot about Keanu Dracula, which is his worst movie ever.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
All right, where are we at?
Number 3.
Number 3.
Time for this one. Nail his head to the floor. This would be the story of Jael, which we did talk about fairly recently.
We did.
Nailed it.
Yeah. So I probably don't need to read the whole of it. Let's just skip down to later in the verse. So yeah, it's Judges 4. But Jael, the wife of Heber, took a tent peg and took a hammer in her hand. Then she went softly to him and drove the peg into his temple until it went down into the ground while he was lying fast asleep from weariness. So he died. And behold, as Barak was pursuing Sisera, Jael went out to meet him and said to him, "Come, I will show you the man whom you are seeking." So he went into her tent, and there lay Sisera dead with the tent peg in his temple.
So the woman's got to be strong.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, of course.
I mean,
Yeah.
she was already in the Hungry Games, so
Right.
I could see her nailing some dude's head to the floor.
Yeah, I could see that.
Now, how about Sisera?
You need someone who looks like a legitimate threat to make it even more ironic that he was killed by a girl.
Right. And someone that you want, someone with like a very, how some actors have like a very punchable face? You know what I mean by that?
Like you want to see their head get nailed
Right,
to the...
right. Like, who was the actor in Back to the Future who played
Biff?
Biff.
Oh my god. Okay, I'll look that up.
Very punchable face.
It's that or the karate teacher from The Karate Kid.
Oh yeah. Have you been watching Cobra Kai?
I haven't.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you want to punch that guy in the face. Thomas F. Wilson plays Biff in all 3 films.
Yes.
Thomas F. Wilson, and then Karate Kid. Martin Cove as John Kreese. Yeah.
Number 2.
Thunderbolts and lightning.
Very, very frightening.
Oh yeah. Elijah. And his showdown with the prophets of Baal.
Right.
Yeah, this is 1 Kings 19. I'll skip to the good part because it's a long one and it's got some great sass in it. But yeah, at the time of the offering of the oblation, Elijah the prophet came near and said, "O Lord, God of Abraham and Isaac and Israel, let it be known this day that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant, and that I have done all these things at your word. Answer me, O Lord, answer me, that this people may know that you, O Lord, are God, and that you have turned their hearts back." Then the fire of the Lord fell and consumed the burnt offering and the wood and the stones and the dust and licked up the water that was in the trench. And when all the people saw it, they fell on their faces and said, "The Lord, he is God, the Lord, he is God." And Elijah said to them, "Seize the prophets of Baal, let not one of them escape." And they seized them, and Elijah brought them down to the brook Kishon and slaughtered them there.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, go for it.
All right. So my Elijah in this would be Will Smith.
Ooh.
Okay.
Because he has that, he's got a little bit of he can wrestle with things a little bit, but he's also got a little bit of the nastiness, like Welcome to Earth punching the alien guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, you with me so far?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm following.
And then the prophets of Baal would be the entire cast of MXC.
Ah, I like it.
Okay.
Not Glee.
They can be the prophets for Asherah that are also there.
Oh, man. So I was thinking Charlton Heston, if we could bring him back to life, to do Elijah, because I think he would do it. But
Oh, I mean, if we're doing that,
I mean,
John Wayne.
you're right.
Yeah,
I mean,
the problem is if we have Heston playing Elijah, he's now played 2/3 of the people who were on the mountain at Transfiguration.
right. That's
And-
okay.
Yeah.
We just have a green screen and go back and forth.
Okay.
So, if we can't do that, I was thinking Michael Sheen
Okay.
because he's awesome.
How about Benedict Cumberbatch?
No, he doesn't strike me. You need somebody with a good beard,
Okay.
you know, and he doesn't. He's got the voice for it. If you could have his voice, but then kind of more of a, I don't know, stocky, well-built, bearded guy. That's the image I have in my mind, but
Yeah, Elijah should look like he's about half a second away from punching someone randomly.
yeah, something like that.
And number 1.
David brings a sniper rifle to a knife fight.
Of course.
Of course. Is it really much surprise that number 1 action hero movie event in the Old Testament is David's fight with Goliath?
Sure. So who do we got playing who in this one?
I mean, I already said I think Daniel Day-Lewis from back as Last of the Mohicans makes a lot of sense.
And Goliath? Goliath, the strong man who, what's his name?
Oh, from whatever his name is, the actor, 20s.
It's Magnus, Veer Magnuson or something like that.
Yeah. But who would you have play David? Like someone who's, because what is David now? I mean, he's like 17, 20 years old,
Right.
Yeah.
roughly.
Right. Because the obvious choice might be someone small, but he wasn't necessarily, compared to Goliath, he was small, but he was
Right.
attractive.
He's what you'd expect of like your generic farm kid who'd been out and about and working.
I'm going to go with Tom Holland.
Ooh.
I'm not sure who that is.
He's playing the new Spider-Man in the...
Yeah, he's the new
Oh,
Spider-Man.
okay.
Then would a good option for Goliath be the actor who plays Drax?
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that.
Or how about
I
this?
can't remember
since
his
we're-
name though. That's the
How
problem.
about, I got a better David.
Okay.
Ralph Macchio. Since we're going on a theme, right?
Right, you know. Yeah, no.
He fits the type, and fits the type. Of course.
Oh, boy.
Hey, let's do this and then find theme songs for it. No.
Maybe next time.
It'd have to be 80s music, wouldn't it?
So, Hannah, we're sorry. We gave you,
So much homework.
yeah, but this
And-
would be really awesome.
And listeners, if you have better suggestions, please let us know. Vicar, where can they find us at?
Well, if they want to send their angry email to us about how we got it wrong, they can email us feedback@clericalerrors.org. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/clericalerrorspodcast. And then on Twitter, @clericalerrorsp.
P for podcast.
P for podcast.
At me, bro.
Well, great. That actually took a lot more energy
time.
than I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole naming the actors really kicked it up a notch a little bit.
Yep.
So why don't we haven't done a Pastorpiece. Do you have a short Pastorpiece?
Yep, I have a short Pastorpiece Theatre, so Peter, play the intro.
So welcome to Pastors
Piece Theater.
with Pastor Berg.
All right, so I was reading Faith Life the other day, and I found a wonderful poem here that's based off of Psalm 23, and really what the verse that it really focuses on and riffs off of is verse 2. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. So here is a poem from a book, I assume, Our Hope, and it's entitled, He Leadeth Me. In pastures green? Nor always. Sometimes he who knoweth best in kindness leadeth me, in weary ways where heavy shadows be, out of the sunshine warm and soft and bright, out of the sunshine into darkest night. I oft would faint with sorrow and affright. Only for this, I know he holds my hand. So whether led in green or desert land, I trust, although I may not understand. And by still waters? No, not always so. Oft times the heavy tempests round me blow, and o'er my soul the waves and billows go. But when the storms beat loudest and I cry aloud for help, the Master standeth by, and whispers to my soul, Lo, it is I. Above the tempest wild I hear him say, Beyond the darkness lies the perfect day. In every path of thine I lead the way. So whether on the hilltops high and fair I dwell, or in the sunless valleys where the shadows lie, what matter? He is there. And more than this, whate'er the pathway lead, he gives to me no hopeless broken reed, but his own hand, sufficient for my need. So where he leads me I can safely go, and in the blessed hereafter I shall know why in his wisdom he has led me so.
I like that. What hit you about that? Why did you? What hit with you?
I think everybody loves Psalm 23 so much, and it's a good thing. It's a very good thing to love Psalm 23, but they often think about it in a very naive way. In that, I'll never want. I live in pastures green, and I'm led by still waters. But they always forget about, Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Mm-hmm. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Mm-hmm. Right? And I think this poem really is a very realistic view.
It brings the theology of the cross into it a little bit
right,
more.
And that despite the fact that we don't always walk in green pastures, and the fact that the waters are often tremulous and in turmoil, God is still there leading us, and it is for our good. I trust, although I may not understand. That is a very comforting thing, especially in days like this, just in life in general, because we don't know what's going to happen. And life isn't always a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. And yet, we trust that our shepherd leads us where we need to go, and that if he's leading us through desert lands, there's a purpose to it.
Right.
There's a goal in mind that can't be reached any other way, or in a way that would actually end up destroying us. So,
it kind of, the poem gives the 23rd Psalm really the teeth that it really has.
Right. And yeah, it gives you that, I think, mature perspective of it that is often lacking. Which is, not lacking in the psalm itself, but just lacking in us. So,
Did I ever tell you what happened one time when I went to visit someone, and it was after surgery and everything was fine. It was a minor surgery, and I thought she had said that she liked the 23rd Psalm, so I read the 23rd Psalm. But for some reason, she had in her mind that you read the 23rd Psalm to someone when they're dying. And so she comes out of surgery, I'll read the 23rd Psalm, and then she gets this panic look because she thinks she's now dying because I'm there reading her the 23rd Psalm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's so terrible.
No. You're okay.
Everything's fine. Okay. But yeah, and I hope that, I don't know, I hope the listener, after hearing this and thinking about the 23rd Psalm, go home, memorize it. If you already have that one memorized, you should go memorize another one. Because there's a lot in the Psalms where you can take comfort. Very wonderful stuff. So I would try to make that, a goal for the week.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know what psalm to memorize, ask your pastor.
There you go. And I think that's a beautiful way to kind of to put a bow on this.
Yep.
So thank you for listening. Thank you, Bert, for being here when you could. And it's been good to get you guys together again. I always have fun doing this. So
yep.
So we've been doing this for almost 2 years now, and we wouldn't keep doing it if we didn't have fun doing it, for sure.
Right.
So, that being said, I'm Bollhagen.
I'm Berg.
And I'm Vicar.
Thank you for listening.
May your dragon ladies be painted.
Thank you for joining us. This podcast is available on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts. Questions, thoughts, concerns? You can contact us on Facebook at facebook.com/clericalerrorspodcast, on Twitter at clericalerrorsp for podcast, or email us at feedback@clericalerrors.org. Thanks for listening to Clerical Errors. See you next time.